Welcome to Autism ADHD TV. It is the place to be for parents and professionals. I'm your host, Holly Blanc Moses, the mom psychologist who gets it. We dive into all kinds of important information like behavior, social skills, and learning. All right, let's get started. Welcome, Christina Tracy.
Thanks, Holly. It's great to be here.
Thank you for coming. So I'm going to introduce you. Christina is a warrior mom who advocates for ADHD. She is the founder of Andrew's Angels in memory of her son, Andrew. The mission of Andrew's Angels is to spread awareness of ADHD and to support parents of children with ADHD. You know, we are going to talk about such an important topic today. And I'm so thankful that you are here because I think your mission and your message is incredibly important because we know, research tells us that children who are differently wired, children with autism and or ADHD, so both, we know that children with autism and children with ADHD are 2 times more likely to pass away young, more so than their peers. And this is scary. It's so scary, and that's why we need to talk about it. It's uncomfortable to talk about, but bringing it into the light, I think, is incredibly important. So, Christina, tell me why you want to share your story.
Well, I share Andrew's story and my story because as the parent of a child with ADHD, I was very lonely. Andrew was misunderstood so many times by teachers and parents and friends that just didn't understand some of the things he would do or say. And after losing Andrew, I don't ever want a parent of an ADHD child to feel that way. I want them to know they're not alone and just advocate for them, get people to understand ADHD, bring more awareness to the topic, and essentially make sure that Andrew's story is a cautionary tale.
Right. And, you and I were talking earlier too about how it feels, because I have 2 children with severe ADHD too, and it often feels like we're constantly trying to protect them from themselves. What do you have to say about that?
That was something I actually had told my husband before Andrew passed. I out of this frustration, I said to him, I'm trying to protect Andrew from himself, because he just with his impulsivity, he just didn't think before he acted. And the most interesting part about my son's personality was he had genuine remorse after whatever happened. He truly felt bad about it, and he would internally beat himself up because he would do it. And he would say to me, "Mom, I don't know why I do these things," which that's ADHD. You don't know why you're doing it. You just do it. And then, you think about it afterwards.
I agree. And really the way their brains work is this now. I am in the now. All I can think about is now. And they're not really seeing those future consequences of what they do. And it often gets them in, trouble at school, trouble at home, trouble in their peer relationships.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's almost as though they are, again, looking through a tunnel. All they see
Mhm.
is the now. And it really can be so much more difficult for them. And like you said, feeling bad about it. So how much shame, they carry around because they feel like they're always doing everything wrong.
That's a very good point. And one of the things that also interests me is, or making sure to spread awareness about to parents, is that, I want to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. There were mistakes, so many mistakes that I made, and that things I wish, obviously now I wish I had done differently. But I want people to learn from my mistakes and the good stuff, to make sure to help them help their children, to make them aware, and looking at the research and information. And there's so much research and information out there. It's something I regret that I did not access over the years.
So when you say that part of your mission is having people know that they are not alone, like you mentioned earlier, and I think a lot of parents feel this way. I know I feel this way at times as well too, is lonely.
Mhm.
You're kind of alone in this. So what have you learned about the importance of getting that support, getting other people, having other people around you who understand?
Well, what I've learned, I was, I think probably the two biggest problems were school and parents, friends of Andrew's parents. Andrew, I would forewarn before, when I would drop him off for a play date or something. So my son has ADHD. He's a really good, really sweet kid, but I just want you to be aware of that. The problem is that these people, Andrew would get in trouble and it just labeled he's a bad kid. You can't play with him anymore. He's just a bad kid. And I don't, I should have, I wish I had done the research to better explain. All right, if he does something, he's not meaning to do it. He will feel bad about it afterwards. And maybe we should take play dates to my house for a little while where I can keep a closer eye. And because I know what I'm doing. So that's a big part of it also.
And Christina, I want to say too, no matter what you do, and I think spreading awareness is so important, but also knowing that no matter what, there will always be those people who don't understand and who are assuming that a child with difficulty of impulsivity, hyperactivity is thinking about what they're doing in this whole doing it on purpose. I understand what you're saying. We actually had to move our family out of a neighborhood that the kids were not invited anywhere. They were basically shunned, and so were we because of the lack of understanding, despite my efforts of educating. So definitely educating, but also with that awareness that we can only do what we can do.
True. Very true.
And right, right. Let's talk a little bit about Andrew's story. So he was 15 at the time of the accident.
Yes. Andrew, on the night of late at night on January 2nd, 2019, so it's been just over 2 years ago, I was getting ready to go to bed. It's about 11:45 at night. And I went into Andrew's room. He was sitting on his bed and was on his phone. He was on a video chat with three other friends. Went in, told him I was going to bed. He said, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to bed soon too. I said, all right, I love you. Good night. And he said, I love you too. I went to bed. Now, while I'm in bed sleeping, Andrew, he was on this video chat talking with three friends, and they were just, I don't know, just talking about what teenagers talk about. And Andrew took the his headphones, and he took the cord and he wrapped it around his neck as a joke, which, number one, the kid was the family comedian, and his friends apparently laughed a little bit at it. Knowing my son, he wanted a bigger laugh. So he then went to his closet, and his belts were hanging on his closet rod. And essentially he put the belt around his neck, trying to get a bigger laugh, that it was still attached to the closet rod. And then he dropped his phone and he bent down to pick it up. When he bent down to pick it up, the belt tightened around his neck. I'm assured he passed out within a second or two. And unfortunately, gravity took care of the rest. And he died. Now, Andrew's friends that were on the video chat with him, thank goodness, could only see his hand. They couldn't see anything else. Thank goodness. And after a couple minutes, they started yelling his name and couldn't understand what was going on. And one of his extremely brave friends actually called 911. And the police showed up at my door at 12:30 in the morning on January 3rd. So this is 45 minutes after I went to bed. I went up to his room. I was the one to find him, because the police said that they were, they were very nice and they were there to do a safety check on him and couldn't understand what they were talking about. I'm like, he's in bed. So went back upstairs to his room. I found him, but I thought he was joking. I thought he was kidding around. I walked in and I'm like, Andrew, what are you doing? The cops are here. Why are the cops here? What are you doing? You got to stand up. Come on. And it was after probably 10 seconds, I realized something was wrong, and had yelled out for the police to come upstairs. They came upstairs. They got him down right away, and paramedics came. They did CPR, brought him to the hospital, but unfortunately he was pronounced at 1:29 in the morning on January 3rd at the hospital. At first, we didn't know anything about the video chat or the phone. And at first thought it was intentional, and it couldn't understand it. It didn't make sense. The kid was not suicidal. He was a happy-go-lucky kid. He had a dark humor, obviously, but and then we started finding everything out and piecing everything together with the police. This was a freak, tragic accident because Andrew didn't think about the consequences of his actions or what something could lead to. His impulsivity took his life. And, he's been a hard 2 years dealing with that. But sharing his story, it's a cautionary tale of ADHD and the consequences from impulsivity that can lead to tragedy.
I'm so sorry, Christina. I'm crying over here.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
I can't even imagine what your family has gone through, and I am so sorry. And thank you for sharing this with us because this is real. I'm sure it feels like that this would never happen to you, right? Like your family, this would never
No,
happen. And you're just like everyone else. You're just like me. You're just like every listener or watcher right now that whether you are a therapist or a parent or an educator, I mean, this is something, a hard topic, but one that we have to address.
exactly. I it has, Andrew left behind, his parents, an older sister, a younger brother. And it's things like my younger son, who was 10 at the time, said to me several months ago, so very recently, he said, Mom, is because what happened to Andrew why you don't hang my belts on my closet rod anymore? I said, yeah, that is the exact reason. We'll never do that again. And it opened the door for us to have a conversation. Now my son my younger son does not have ADHD, not on the spectrum, but it still opened up a conversation of you have to think before you act. Don't put yourself in a situation that could be harmful. And it was a good lesson. It was a good conversation. And it, like I said, and it opens the door to other conversations. And that's my goal here is for parents to have these hard conversations, share Andrew's story with their children, obviously depending on the age, age appropriate, but share with them simple things that end up being dangerous and can lead to tragedy.
It's true. And like you said, having excuse me, sharing those things about thinking into the future. And again, you often hear parents or teachers or therapists say, well, we've said it 100 times, right? And they continue to do that. And again, that's what we were talking about at the beginning, was it's hard for them to see past the now. So number one, the understanding that this is hard for them. This is not easy. If it was easy, they would do it, right? And that's where that comes that education and that understanding, but also, working as much as we can. Now, we can't predict everything. You didn't predict this. I couldn't have predicted that, you know, but do what we can to show them the future, to look into the future, as when they do things that maybe get them in trouble or whatever that is that they didn't think into the future. Show them, draw it out, show them what looking into the future looks like. That's something that I work on with all of my patients, almost the very beginning of our work together. And, it's still hard, right? I mean, it's by the nature of their neurodiversity that this is a struggle for them. But like you said, having those conversations, maybe if a parent, professional, or educator, they feel comfortable sharing this story, that, if your story, Andrew's story, can save one child's life. And like you said,
even one.
just one. And, again, this isn't easy to talk about. And I commend you for being so open and authentic with everyone.
Thank you.
Now, you mentioned that your mission is to spread awareness. And Andrew's story, you have been diligent to do that in your mission to protect children and educate others. How can our audience learn more about Andrew and more about your mission, and let them know how they can support you?
Well, we have a few different outlets. We have a Facebook page. It's called Andrew's Angels. And you'll see a picture of my handsome son right up there, because he was really handsome. And we also have a website that is Andrew, not plural, andrewangels.org. On that website is my blog, where I write stories about Andrew, the good that is some people have found by knowing his story and teaching their children, and lessons that I've learned. So we have that, and we're in the process of trying to turn Andrew's Angels into a nonprofit organization. So we're working on that as well.
Wow. And again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story today. I'll make sure that those links are below for our audience.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Holly, for having me. This was perfect. And I hope your listeners and your viewers really learn from this and take away just a little bit of information.
I know that they will. And again, thank you for, as I'm kind of getting my makeup out of my eyes here, your, like I said, your openness to really helping other people understand. Because again, if we're talking about these children are 2 times more likely to pass, this is just something that we have to address.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Christina, for your time, and you take care. I know that you and I will be in touch.
Yes. Thank you so much, Holly.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. If you like this episode, please share it with someone. It may just be what they need to watch today. If you're a parent, I'd love if you came on over and joined our Facebook group, Autism ADHD Group for Parents. If you're a therapist or educator, come on over to our group, Autism ADHD Group for Therapists and Educators. You're going to find those links right down there in the notes. Thanks so much, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode.
All content provided is protected under applicable copyright, patent, trademark, and other proprietary rights. All content is provided for informational and educational purposes only. No content is intended to be a substitute for professional medical or psychological diagnosis, advice, or treatment. Information provided does not create an agreement for service between Holly Blanc Moses, Crossvine Clinical Group, the interviewee, Holly Blanc Moses LLC, and the recipient. Consult your physician regarding the applicability of any opinions or recommendations with respect to your symptoms or medical condition, or the symptoms or medical condition of your family member. Children or adults who show signs of dangerous behavior toward themselves and/or others should be placed immediately under the care of a qualified professional.